Alright everybody, I'm back again for episode 2, and just a disclaimer, this is absolutely not safe for work, this video. This is one of the most creepy, degenerate human beings I've ever met, so please be cautious about who you send this to and who you view this in front of. Now I'm going to start off asking the question, do you ever just meet someone out there in life, someone who you just is so disgusted by, someone you find so gross and creepy, you just know that something is not right with them? Well, that's the perfect segue into introducing you to the main character of this story, T-Bone, or Big T. Now, T-Bone had a rough upbringing, as he told me. He claimed he'd been abusing heroin and cocaine since he was 14 years of age. Keep in mind that by the time I'd met him, he was in his early 50s and was incredibly obese. He also had a lot of connections to gangs and motorbike groups and was covered in tattoos. Tattoos which he'd been getting since he was 15. And now he is roughly 6 foot tall and weighs about 150 kilograms. So the ink from his tattoos had stretched and faded to shit, which resulted in poor T-Bone having hilariously bad tattoos covering about 80% of his upper body. Now before we move on from discussing his background, we need to discuss how he ended up in the hospital in the first place. Usually out in the community, people who can't fully take care of themselves but can't go into nursing home have access to community home services. Community home services are basically people who come cook and clean for you. It's essentially like being in a nursing home without actually living in a nursing home. You have the nurses come to you to take care of you in return. But my boy T-Bone had kind of burnt his bridges with these care services and was blacklisted from 3 different care services in our region. Turns out the only thing he liked more than heroin was sexually assaulting and harassing nurses. And without any nurses to check on him, his health started falling apart, so that's how he ended up in the hospital. So now that his background's out of the way, let's see what T-Bone is presenting to the hospital with. Number 1, obesity. Number 2, shit tattoos. Number 3, IV drug abuse. Number 4, serial sex offender. Now my first encounter with T-Bone was a pleasant one at first. He didn't try and sexually assault me straight away. We spoke man to man and he told me about his rough upbringing, which I sympathised with at first. Giving him sympathy was a mistake, however, as I quickly started hearing stories from my female co-workers about him trying to coerce them into giving him sneaky handjobs. Now usually when you're in a hospital and you're a dick to your nurses, all other nurses on that ward hear about it. News spreads really fast working in a female dominated industry. Anyway, as you can expect, this resulted in poor T-Bone being neglected, left in his room on his own, with the nurses only ever entering the room to give him his medications before leaving. No one wanted to shower him, or help him get dressed, or help him go to the toilet, or really engage with him just because of how strong he was coming onto them. Guys included. And of course, poor T-Bone obviously needed to have a shower or just a quick wash or something because the man was filthy and smelt horrible. So the girls needed a sacrificial lamb, one who'd take one for the team, and that person was me. Now I knew I wouldn't be able to get big old T-Bone out of bed, being 150 kilograms and unable to walk, so my plan was to give the guy a wash. Now, at this point we were keeping T-Bone's bedroom door closed permanently, as he had developed a bad habit of excessive masturbation. And this wasn't just overnight, this was 24/7. Someone snuck in nude mags for him, and he had them in his room. We still to this day don't know how he got his hands on them, but that's all he was doing, was just sitting there having a tug. And because he was so fat and so shit with taking care of himself, he would never clean himself afterwards. And he was just literally sitting covered in semen, and his whole room started to smell like sweat and semen. Anyway, in I went. I cracked small talk with the big guy, made a few jokes. Then T-Bone, before I even started washing him or anything, turned around and said to me, "Mate, I've lost my phone. Would you mind looking for me?" Now, T-Bone is a big guy with short arms and a big pot belly, so I knew the phone probably got lost somewhere in his bariatric bed. I started pulling the sheets up, looking under the mattress and between the blankets, but there was no sign of it anywhere. I started to faintly hear it vibrating, and T-Bone told me he could feel it beneath him, and being such a fat guy, it was a good chance it was beneath him. So I got T-Bone to roll over for me. And this is where I got really fucked up. T-Bone had one of those old Nokia 3310s, like the indestructible phone, and as he rolled over, I saw where it was. It was about 2 inches deep in his arsehole. Anyway, I get the phone out, and I'm in this state of shock by what I've just witnessed. At this point, the phone is still ringing, by the way, covered in T-Bone's feces. T-Bone rolls back over and asks to answer the phone because at this point it's still ringing. I tell him straight up, fuck no, and start cleaning it with antiseptic wipes. T-Bone then starts acting like he didn't know where I'd found his phone, and yells at me for having him miss his phone call by holding his phone away from him whilst I cleaned it. Anyway, I give him the phone, get the fuck out of that room, go walk up to my nearest mate at work, tell him the story, and we both cringe about it. Anyway, that's all for now folks. I've got a part 2 to this story which I'll hopefully get out soon. Thanks for listening.